Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. What's up guys, Altcoin Sherpa here with a crypto market review. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm not an expert to your own research. Okay, so today I'll review Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't really think anything has really changed, to be frank and honest with you. If you've seen the last few of my videos, I'm really just looking for a break of 46k, and I'm waiting for a break of 34k. That's it. There's really no other two levels that I'm really watching. There is a minor level here at 44.6k that I'm watching, actually, just because there have not been any high time frame closes above that really since January. If you look at that level, it's just a very significant resistance level that has not been, there has not been any daily closes above that area for quite some time. So if we do see a daily close above that level, I actually feel pretty confident that we'll break 46k. I know that's not much of a difference, honestly, but why am I looking at 46k or 34k? It's simply because those are the last highs and lows that were established. So you know, if you've seen, as I said, if you've seen some of my other videos, we had a low established in late January, followed by a high set in early February, and then we had a higher low, and then a lower high. So, you know, when you see this type of price action, you'll see price just consolidate and just have higher lows and lower highs, and this is really just what it looks like. It'll just keep consolidating and keep chopping around, and there's really no real trend on lower time frames until one of these two levels gets broken. So I think that most people, it's just better to wait and be risk off right now until one of these two levels gets broken. If 46k gets broken, then you can assume that the market structure is going to be bullish in the short term. And the reason why it would be bullish is because you would have a higher, higher low, and then you would have a higher high breaking this level. So, you know, when you have higher highs and higher lows, that's a bullish market structure. But until that time, it's just lower highs and lower lows. So, you know, really not really much much of a trend, honestly, in terms of the lower time frames. So as I said, this is kind of just what I'm viewing for Bitcoin. I don't really think there's anything. I don't really think there's any real actionable trades you can take right now. I mean, you could just average in if you want. Like, depends on your overall strategy. I mean, from a fundamental standpoint, like if you're just an investor in Bitcoin, I think this area is still pretty good, to be frank and honest with you. Like, there's a high % chance that this price is going to be higher like a year from now than it is at these current levels. Especially with all the macro and the, you know, all the actual fundamental stuff of Bitcoin, like, you know, it being potentially hard money and just like a decentralized currency in a world where, you know, you see centralized banks taking control and fucking over governments with regards to the US and Russia. And, you know, obviously this is like a little bit off topic, but, you know, definitely something to consider for the fundamentals of Bitcoin. But I don't think this is a bad area just to average in. I mean, dollar cost averaging in, buying in around here, then buying at, like, you know, if it goes to 34k, if it goes to 30k, certainly just fine just a dollar cost average in. But yeah, for right now, I'm not really seeing anything. Like, if Bitcoin does go into like there are some minor levels as well if you look like on lower time frames, but you know, for right now, it's really just like a scalper's paradise. There's a lot of volatility on lower time frames, and as I said, there's not really any clear trend though. So that, like, if you are trading on lower time frames, hopefully you have a lot of experience. But yeah, just like as you can see, higher lows and lower highs. Really nothing else nothing really to be said about this chart, to be frank and honest with you. Yeah, so as I said, I'm really just waiting for a break of 34k or 46k, nothing really else in between. We are seeing a lot of the EMAs line up and consolidate, and this is usually pretty good. It at least tells you that a big move is coming soon. I just, you know, we don't know the direction quite yet. So my to be frank and honest with you, my personal bias is that I think it's going to go up. And the reason is that we've seen a lot of news that could have pushed Bitcoin much lower in terms of war and everything like that, and supply chain issues and macro and Fed hikes. But in my opinion, I think that with the way that prices chopped around and already come down from this 70K area, I personally think that the next move is up. I'm not saying we're going to like break higher, like to all-time high levels or anything like that, but given this overall price action, to me this looks more like a bottom than anything else. Now, I'm not really quite ready to like call a bottom. I still have orders way lower just in case price does shit the bed. I think it's good to just like assume that black swan event is possible. It is possible for us to go to like 30K or whatever. That's an area that I was viewing for a while. But to me, I would like, and I wouldn't mind seeing another return to the mid 30Ks again as well. But I personally think the bottom is mostly in. But I'm not discounting a potential move down to like the low mid 30Ks. I certainly think that's in the cards. And I think like. Personally, I'm just buying within this range and just dollar cost averaging. I have bids lower, and that's kind of my overall plan for Bitcoin. Okay, so let's look for ETH USD. I think that ETH USD is kind of a weird chart. I mean, to me, this looks much more bearish than Bitcoin, and the reason is that that ETH USD it has some higher lows, but like these lows aren't really. These lows here are not. They're not super. What's the word? It's just not. It's not a very clear chart to me, to be frank and honest with you. To me, this is still like a very bearish market structure, but it is important to note that Ethereum generally follows Bitcoin, like as the two largest market cap coins. So like if Bitcoin moves up, like if I do have the bias that Bitcoin is going to move up, then I probably should have the bias that ETH USD is going to go up as well. So I do take that into account. We are seeing higher lows on Ethereum, ETH USD, as well as like these lower highs as well. Like, just like lower highs on the daily and higher lows. So similar to Bitcoin, this is like hitting some sort of consolidation as well. But yeah, as I said, like this chart is not super clear to me. I mean, like, it's still bearish to me on higher time frame charts. Like it's still like overall bearish market structure in my opinion, just lower highs and lower lows. But as I said before, similar to Bitcoin, we are seeing potential higher lows like for the first time in quite some time in my opinion. Like so yeah, I mean, like if Bitcoin is going to be bullish, then ETH USD should be bullish as well. Some levels that I'd be watching for ETH USD, if you look on higher time frame charts, something like 3K will be an interesting level, and that's really not that far away from current levels. There is a supply zone on the weekly up to the mid 3Ks or so. And this area should provide some strong resistance, at least on the first tap. But it is interesting to note that area did get tapped a few times on the way down. So usually when you see price tapping these levels on the way down, usually these levels aren't going to be as strong on the way up. What I mean by that is, like, if you look back at the May consolidation event, May, June, and July, like these levels were untapped for quite some time because of how fast price got liquidated. Or people got liquidated, but here's a good example here. Like there's like probably some level on the 4 hour. Let's take a look. I know this is actually getting a little bit off topic here, but this is like when you start to go down to lower time frame charts. This is really actually the stuff that's pretty interesting. Is you look on lower time frame charts, you find an area of resistance that got tapped several times. This is in the May June area. And because this area got tapped a few times, there wasn't as much sell-side liquidity when price came back up to that level. So if you take that level in comparison to August, there wasn't really any resistance there. And the reason is that because it got tapped a few times previously, in my opinion. Whereas this level, oopsies, this level here got, this level here had resistance because this level hasn't been tapped in a quite back since May. So there's still some sellers in that area, which is why it took price, several weeks to basically break through that area. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that this area here, actually probably, upon just reasoning through it, it probably won't have super strong resistance because it already got tapped a few times. But with that said, I do expect like some of these higher levels, like the high 3Ks, to be resistance. Anyways, that's like a little bit off topic. I think that ETH will go as Bitcoin goes. Like I would just wait personally until there's a clear market structure. For me, I would just wait until like kind of this 3K area gets broken, because that's like maybe the last significant high. Or if you want to wait for a low, then you would just wait for like this 2300 area. Let's briefly look at ETH BTC. ETH BTC looks interesting to me. Okay, let's just look here. To me, ETH BTC is just still in this large range, to be frank and honest with you. Like it's chopped really almost like an entire year. Not quite, but it will get almost to a year, I think, by the time it actually starts to move. There is a significant level right here around this 064 area. And this level looks to be like a short-term bottom for ETH BTC, but in my opinion, if Bitcoin really starts to move, if it really starts to move, then I think that ETH BTC will probably go lower, like come back down to like the 055 area. That's probably an area I would view as a decent buy. But it seems like everybody on CT is pretty bullish on ETH BTC, so maybe this will trade to the top of a range again. So like we'll see this like come back up and then come back down. I still think it's going to take a little bit of time though to consolidate. I don't necessarily think this is going to move quite yet, and the reason is that the market isn't really super good right now for altcoins, for the majority of altcoins, just because Bitcoin is so volatile and not in a good spot. Generally, alts thrive when Bitcoin is in a quote unquote safe space or a safe trading range, and I don't necessarily know if we've seen that quite yet for Bitcoin. Or if Bitcoin is obviously bullish, that's when alts also do well. But yeah, I think that ETH BTC could make its way up to the range highs, but I ultimately view like this 055 area as like an area where you can consider buying personally. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Thank you so much for the support.